There are only 100 days left this year. Grad school starts Monday, I'm turning 35, and the constant add-on of to-dos on my calendar is making my brain... Trying to figure out how to manage all this stress had me spiraling, until I remembered something from my psychology degree. A stress relief technique from 10th century Japan. One I got to experience in person in 2022. And recent research shows why it still works today. I have the whole journey mapped out.
And I only have this afternoon to reset and lock in, because by December 31st, I don't just want to be successful, I want to be fulfilled and authentic. And that starts with this trail. I am starting with a hike because this is an ancient tradition of my people. I am half Japanese, and I had the honor and the privilege of going onto the Kumano Kodo pilgrimage
On that
trail
trail,
in
I
Japan.
discovered a practice from Shugendo Buddhism, a simple technique for releasing stress that has been passed down for centuries. And what amazed me is that it's not only completely relevant today, but a lot of modern research is validating how effective this technique is.
But this isn't just a tradition of Japanese people. This is something that has been done by all great minds throughout history. Whether it's the Stoics in Rome, even Martin Luther King Jr. talked about not just going for a walk, but going for a walk outside, where you can really get away from the noise of everyday life and connect with what you are. You are nature, you're not a robot.
And in case ancestral wisdom isn't enough, the second reason I'm hiking is because it's been proven by science not only to increase my physical well-being, but even my spiritual and emotional well-being. It doesn't just get rid of stress, it connects me to my deeper why, to my environment, and in many cases, a sense of something greater than myself.
This is awesome.
So much of the stress in our life comes from decision fatigue, being overwhelmed by all the options of what we could do. Even when you're focused on one thing, it's then easy to get stressed out about optimizing it.
It's like we get so caught up in harvesting the fruits, we forget why we planted a tree in the first place.
In Shugendo, long mountain pilgrimages bring you perseverance and humility. They help clear your mind. But
I'm also hiking because I need this trail to take me to a particular place where I can do items number 2 and 3 in this ancient tradition. And by the sounds of it, we're almost there.
back in 7th century Japan, they knew stress wasn't just in our brains.
It was in our bodies too.
Which is why the pilgrimage I did involved something a little more out of my comfort zone.
So along the pilgrimage, there are Oji shrines where people had to do purification rituals before arriving, and it was only after that that you could pray for divine protection. So I'm gonna hop in this very cold water because I have to purify myself. Okay, and pure. It's very fresh. Whew. My first cold water dip is done, purifying my body before I see my first shrine. I am barefoot and ready to begin the Kumano Kodo pilgrimage, so let's go.
But you don't need a shrine or pilgrimage trail to do the same thing today. Ever since learning this in Japan, I've continued the tradition. I even kept my special towel from the pilgrimage that has a picture of one of the most famous idols. It's a delightful token for something I hate doing, even though it reduces my stress, and I've also found it reduces my chronic back pain. It's a cold plunge. Well, sort of.
Because in Shugendo, you're actually supposed to immerse yourself in a waterfall. And there aren't any studies I know of that validate being pummeled by icy waterfalls, but we all know they're not just popular, they're effective. And most importantly, they're a gosh darn good time.
Play and shenanigans are some of the most underrated stress relief techniques I can think of. It brings us back to childlike wonder, curiosity, and a sense of openness, all of which are needed to complete this part of the tradition. Because I'm not just here to get cold, I'm here to slow down and meditate. Shugendo monks would meditate underneath ice-cold waterfalls, and reportedly stay there for hours without ever getting hypothermia. This was thought to make them stronger and also spiritually more pure. But I think I'll pass on that and just do my own little gentler version so that I can move on to the next part of the journey.
That was awesome. The hike was helpful, but I was still like, okay, I'm hiking, I'm gonna reset, I'm gonna make life better. But that swim, wow, I feel like 20 times better. And anytime I get to do a little mini pilgrimage and take my towel from the Kumano Kodo, it just like, it just makes me so happy. Hi, Chi. Yeah. Now the wild woman is back.
The hike and the cold water were really just a warm-up to this. This part isn't just a reset ritual. In fact, it isn't even really a Japanese tradition. It's a human tradition, one of the oldest that exists. But to do it, I need a place that feels sacred, safe, and fireproof.
I think I have found the spot. I know this is the spot because there's that beautiful arching tree, which feels welcoming. There's a nice, safe area to do what I need to do. And I am surrounded by plants. There's not too many mosquitoes. And yeah, this feels like the place. I actually hunted this pork myself on the island of Hawaii, the island I'm from. And this is pork butt. Wow, I did a really good job. Good job, Sarah, you crushed it.
The simple act of enjoying a good meal represents harvest, taking stock of the work that's been done. And what good is a harvest celebration without two other key ingredients?
Before I do step 2, I'm gonna need this for step 3. I'm gonna be making a fire, of course, because I love fire.
And I'm gonna be making this fire in the most primitive way possible, with a hand drill. But since it's an incredibly wet environment here and my clothes and hands are wet, I am giving myself a little backup ferro rod just in case.
And the reason I'm doing fire, I think is pretty obvious. It's because it is one of the oldest traditions of being human. It is what makes us human.
As is experimentation, and this tinder bundle I'm using is definitely an experiment, one that got a little wet. I'm hoping it dries while I do step 2. There are 2 particular things I'm reflecting on. The first is what has gone well. And the second is what has not gone so well. What can I release? We aren't so different than the trees, you know? As we head towards the end of the year, it's important for us to shed anything that isn't going to serve us in the season to come. Even though checking in with what's working and what's not working is still used in modern productivity today, what I'm about to do with this list is something much more primal and much more satisfying.
I'm gonna need this in a minute. This might not work. Everything here is really wet.
This is something I learned to do a decade ago, and I'm pretty good at it. But fire is hard.
You gotta humble yourself to the fire. You gotta get right down and humble yourself to the fire. Higher and higher it goes. You gotta lift that fire up. Higher and higher it goes.
That one slip cost me my friction fire. I keep trying, but I know once that stick hit the wet dirt, this just wouldn't work. And what you don't see is that this is the 4th time I was trying to do it.
Okay, new plan.
In wilderness survival, it's always good to have a backup plan. But even the sparks from my ferro rod are barely catching on this material. It probably wasn't a good idea to use an experimental tinder on such an important occasion.
Oh, my dear sweet baby Jesus. That took so much work.
Whether it's turning darkness into light, cold into warmth, or a single page into a ceremony of release, fire has always been our tool of transformation. And with 100 days left in the year, it's exactly what I needed. Not the perfect plan in my head, but the connection between mind, body, and spirit. If you need that reset but don't have a whole afternoon, subscribe, because the next 4 videos I do will be little rituals you can do at home anytime.